work out this.
So, also, kurze Blitzverkehr um 12:30 Uhr startet mit dem Spurschnitt.
Third race weekend of the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Cup. We are in Innsbruck in Austria, the final race before the Christmas New Year break. And after an early morning start with women's monobob, we head now into our skeleton competitions. The men and the women will both slide today in slightly snowy and overcast conditions. Biggest World Cup field we've had in a very long while. 33 sleds will go through. Delighted to have summer and winter Olympian Nathan Crumpton with me. Nathan, almost everybody knows this track well. It's a great learner's track, but where are the keys for speed?
Keys for speed begins right here at the start. This is the quintessential starter's track. It's the shortest track in the entire world at only about 1,200 meters. You have to build the speed as much as you can. You have to be as quiet as you can going through this big curve 2, this little omega curve. And then you have to be as quiet as possible, again, to let the speed build, let the momentum build. You're never steering too intensely as you go through this upper labyrinth or really anywhere on this track. Finally, you're getting towards the lower half of the track when you enter the Kreisel here. This is curve 7, 270-degree corner. Try not to hit that left wall on the exit. Here you have curve 8, leading into the critical curve 9. Probably the trickiest part on the entire track. May see some sleds hitting walls there. Big corner 10. This will spit you out. You're going to hit your top speed here before you enter the lower labyrinth. These final few corners, curve 13 into the finish curve, curve 14, before hitting the finish line right there and going uphill. And we'll see what kind of results we get today. I don't know if we're going to see a new track record currently held by Matt Weston of Great Britain.
Yeah, Matt Weston, the track record holder, Alexander Tretyakov, the start record holder, both multiple gold medalists on this track. Weston had his first ever win here, nearly had it a year earlier actually when he led the first heat, and then Martin Stuckers got by him, as he did so often to so many people, in the second. It's a big, big field. The top 3 nations have 4 sliders in the field, 3 for the next group, and a whole bunch of athletes that we have occasionally seen, as well as 2 absolute brand new rookies at the tail of the field. Troy Wilson of Canada and Yaroslav Lavrenyuk of Ukraine. So Ukraine with 2 athletes in the field. Well, there's Great Britain's Marcus Wyatt. Everybody limbering up here in the gravel car park outside the start area. Luckily, after a couple of days' rain, there's not too much snow and ice down, so it's relatively safe, but not exactly the most salubrious location. So what about this track? I mean, almost everybody learns here, and that means that the devil's in the detail. It's the tiny little errors that will make the difference, right?
Absolutely. You're never steering the sled too hard. These athletes, most of them are coming from La Plan, where you're really cranking on the sled, and you really have to dial it down, and you have to be a very subtle driver here. Never steering past 50% intensity. You just got to push fast and then drive very subtly to get as much speed as possible.
And about a third of our field have got World Cup starts in single digits, if any, and some of them now heading way over 50 and 60 World Cup starts. So a massive disparity in experience. Race 3 of the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup in Innsbruck in Austria, 33 sled field. Martin Haven and summer and winter Olympian Nathan Crumpton watching the action as Italy's Manuel Schwerzer gets us underway.
He does. Manuel is coming back. He had a quad injury a couple of years ago, and we're trying to get him back onto his sliding form. He had a 5:06. That is not a bad start at all, and nearly breaking that 50 kilometers an hour mark here at the start.
Yeah, made his debut back in Koenigsegg in January 2017. As you said, injuries, and this will be a familiar story for many athletes, taking him out effectively for a couple of seasons.
This will be a great marker to see how the track is acting. He had a great Kreisel there. He avoided that little hit. He used his toe to steer properly. And then into this 9, a little bit of a skid as he goes into 10, just breaking the 100-kilometer-an-hour mark.
Well, like you, quite a tall athlete, and aerodynamically, that's why fish are long and narrow. That works in fluid dynamic terms.
As he crosses the finish line here, 53.63, so setting the pace for this men's World Cup field.
All right, in comparison to track records, 51.41 on a very much colder, frostier day with the snow in the air, with the cloud hanging around us. It'll be a relatively slow track, not if you're new to it, but for everybody who's used it before.
Yes, indeed. Here we see that skid going from 9 into 10. That is that tricky part of the track. You do have to try and maintain that aerodynamic form and keep those runners on the ice.
21st World Cup start for Manuel Schwerzer. Second for Chonghong Chang of Chinese Taipei. So Chang made his debut in the World Cup in the race weekend in Beijing, but has spent most of his time building up experience across a variety of different tracks, actually. He slid in luge in the Youth Olympic Games in 2016, converted immediately then to skeleton. Whether that was more of a rush or felt a little safer, I couldn't quite tell you. Raced here in Europe Cup and in Intercontinental Cup, so he does have decent knowledge of the track.
Yes, he does. He starts at 5:33 for that first 50 meters here, so a little bit behind the pace that we've seen so far, but we'll see how he does. A little bit of a toe steer there, trying to counterbalance, and he's going to try and track down Manuel as best as he can.
Now 33 starters, 25 fastest go through into the second heat, so for the new sliders, that is the target, to be in that second run.
Here he is entering the Kreisel, that big 270-degree corner. He does take that tap, a double tap. That's going to hurt his velocity a little bit. Let's see if he keeps it together, though. Oh, there's the big hit coming out of 9, but he's staying calm, he's staying relaxed. He is not freaking out too much, so we'll see what his time is here.
See, people say to me, Martin, you should try skeleton. You should try it in Innsbruck. This is a man who knows what he's doing on a skeleton sled.
It is harder than it looks. I will admit that for sure.
There's Liz Meyer. She's here with her IBSF hat on. Benny Meyer actually here also doing track commentary. So, yeah, Chang Chung-hung, that was a bit of a damaging run in terms of speed and also pretty uncomfortable.
All the usual tricky spots there. Coming out of the Kreisel, coming out of corner 9. You see just a bit too much height at the top there. It throws you over into that slider's left wall, and that might leave a bruise on his left shoulder there.
Yeah, he says might as in absolutely guaranteed. The crumple zone is the human aboard the sled. Next up from Poland, second World Cup start also for Władysław Poliwak. He made his debut last week in La Plan, and you could not have a more different track to La Plan. Here is a track where less counts. In La Plan, you've got to drive your socks off.
Yes, indeed. You go from the long technical La Plan track into this very short, very starter-intensive Eagles track. His start time, 5:26, getting him off the bat there. And let's see how he makes his way down this Eagles track here. A little bit of a counterbalance with his toe just coming out, trying to keep that sled straight as he goes into this upper labyrinth.
Just 22, one of our newer athletes. One of our younger athletes, not the youngest. Can make you feel really old late in the run. Into the Kreisel, second best speed.
Takes that little tap. We see it's a very common tap. If you don't control the height at the end, you get that little hit. Here it is, curve 9. Similar situation. Takes another tap on the left. Staying calm, though. Gets a decent exit out of 10 and now into the lower labyrinth.
Again, speed here, head first on the ice with your chin scraping along, well over 115 kilometers an hour, so 70 miles an hour plus 54.77. If they ever tell you that Eagles is easy, yeah, nothing when you're going head first at that speed is easy, and especially the outrun here.
That is the most dangerous part of the track, actually. You can see those foam pads. They're set there to decelerate the athlete. Here we're getting a shot coming out of curve 9. Again, one of those really tricky spots here on this Eagles track. And we see him just take that hit on the slider's left and then going really early into curve 10.
So Władysław Poliwak of Poland down second out of our 3 starters so far. Now, Amadeo Banis should bring the level up in terms of pace. 22nd World Cup start for him. Our World Championship silver medalist from St. Moritz in February. Last week, his World Cup best ever race result, 6th place in La Plan.
And Amedeo really enjoys this track too. This is where he learns. This is functionally the home track for the Italian team. So he has a lot of runs here. He knows how to glide. He had a bit of trouble there out of the groove though, getting pushed to the side a little bit. Not ideal, but lays out the fastest start time so far of anyone in the field with a 4:86.
1400s off the start record, but some of that vital speed getting rubbed off on the wall.
Here we should just see how important that start speed is, though. You can see how he carries that lead. He's still in the green. He's in the lead. Great entry into Kreisel going in late there, and the fastest speed at over 90 kilometers an hour, and a clean exit as well.
How close does he get to the 52-second mark? Not sure it's going to be much under it in these relatively slow conditions. Best speed of all, 1 kilometers an hour, 63 miles an hour.
And over 120 top speed. He's having a solid run here, very clean. You can tell he's experienced on this track, and he has a good run to show for it. 52.89.
Okay. So 1.4 seconds off the fastest ever run down here. But again, this is not track record weather.
Overall, very solid run. You could see how he corrected in a number of spots there. First, let's take a look at this start, though. He has a little bit of a problem out of the groove. He just gets shot out to the sliders right a little bit and makes contact with that wall, which you never want to do as a slider. It robs you of very precious momentum. But nonetheless, a great run overall for Amedeo. He's got to be happy with that.
Marcus Wyatt of Great Britain, the 5th of our 33 starters in the first heat, race 3 of the Men's Skeleton World Cup. 9th place finish last time out here for the 32-year-old. Took a bronze medal last week in La Plagne.
Mark is such a talented athlete. He has a great start, really powerful, really explosive, but then he's able to transition into that calm Zen mode really, really well. So I've got high hopes here for Marcus. Let's see what he can do.
Best race result here, 4th place in January 2020 in those lost COVID seasons.
4:99 off the start, a little bit off the pace of what I would have expected from Marcus, but let's see if he can bring it back down the ice.
And again, didn't make contact with the wall, so some of Amedeo's 4:86 advantage is just going to be bled away. 2200s back on the splits.
Here he goes. He gets a nice clean entry into Kreisel with the top speed as well, just over 90 kilometers an hour. Very similar to Amedeo, and a clean exit as well off of the Kreisel. Nice entry into 9. Let's see if he holds it. Really quite nice. Top speed as well, 1017. This is a clinic on some really solid sliding that Marcus is putting on. Top speed here too. We'll see. Can he catch him?
1100s back, 3 turns to go, and across the line. Doesn't quite get there. 52.96, but it's close enough. Last year was a real transition season for the British skeleton sliders as the Martin Stucours and Matthias Guggenberger sled program as well as coaching program came together. The sleds, though, very different from the Black Rocks that they slid on for all their lives before that. So they're still really learning the intricacies. These sleds, you do much less than you used to have to do on a Black Rock, and that's got to be, when you're sliding, Nathan, it's got to be exactly intimate. You know, you can't think about it. It just has to be instinct.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, Marcus knows that he could improve on a couple things there, but overall the slide itself was really well done.
Amedeo Ibanez leads, 5 down, loads to go. 30th World Cup start for Great Britain's Craig Thompson. World Cup best ever result was a silver medal here in the race in January 2021.
Craig, another powerhouse starter from Team GB, and one with plenty of experience on this track. He knew that there might be some groove issues. You saw him steer preemptively, just swinging his foot out a bit as he carries his way into this upper labyrinth. Great velocity too, 50.3 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, fastest speed of everybody, and only 300s behind Amedeo Ibanez, so already ahead of teammate Marcus Wyatt.
Holding form really well through that upper labyrinth, spots his entry into the Kreisel, and again, now fastest speed into the Kreisel.
We're talking tiny margins here, and he's crept in front of Amedeo Ibanez.
0.03 of a second. That's something you see so often on this Eagles track, of these really razor-thin margins. Great slide so far. A little bit of trouble on the exit there out of 10, though.
Second best speed, should still have enough to be in front at the line. By how much? 1/10 of a second, 52.79.
Nicely done, Craig. Way to hold it together there all the way through the end.
And the British sled program has made such a difference. 2 years ago, we'd have seen Craig starting in the top 3 or 4 and the speed just drifting away out of the sleds. The BlackRock had not kept up with the pace of development of everything else. This new sled program allows them to actually race with the front runners.
Yes, indeed. And Craig's always had a great start, and it's been a matter of getting him to hold that lead as he gets farther and farther down the track. He did a really commendable job here. That small skid on the straightaway, and then a little bit too much height at the end, giving him that tap on the left side, but otherwise solid.
Happy birthday, Grace.
There you go. Happy birthday back home. Yellow vest of our current World Cup leader, last year's World Cup champion, Olympic champion and 2-time world champion as well, Christopher Grotehair.
Chris, just a phenomenal slider, Olympic gold medalist, defending Olympic gold medalist, and many-time World Cup winner. We'll see what Chris brings out today.
His second ever win was here in a 3-way tie for gold with Matt Waston and Gungwon Chang of China a couple of years ago. First ever 3-way tie in IBSF history.
History being made then. We'll see if history is made again today. He started just over that 5-second mark at 5:01, but we'll see how his sliding goes and see if he can claw back some of that with his renowned sliding skills.
There you go, top speed already into the Kreisel.
A little bit off of his sled there. You can see his shoulder coming up. He was really trying to wrestle it, but now he's back on, and that's a very nice exit of 9.
Again, the sled program has changed a lot for the German athletes over the last 2 or 3 seasons, with FES now really supplying everything.
First athlete over 121 kilometers an hour. Is it enough? Oh, 0.05 of a second.
And the expansion joints in this track are really noticeable. That big bounce as he came across the line, that's because he's hit the far side of the expansion joint in the concrete that forms the track. So some really hefty clumps around.
Yes, indeed. Oh, we're going to see Chris go hunting in the second heat here. Here's the start. You can see he's not fully settled as he exits the spur here, as he exits that groove. You can see him, he just moves his spikes to the side. Then we get that shot where he's not quite settled. He has a clean exit there, but you don't want to lift your shoulder up off of the sled. A very rare break in form for Chris, but all in all, a great slide for him. Top speed in the field.
Yeah, like a motorcycle rider, a skeleton slider uses the entire body to control the mechanical object. So head, shoulders, knees, toes, everything plays a part. Next up, local hero, Sammy Meyer. So brother Benny was a bobsledder, his sister-in-law Elizabeth, a very successful skeleton athlete. Sammy was originally a ski jumper. I'm not sure whether his mum thinks this is probably a more safe pursuit or not. World Cup best here was bronze in January 21's race, 5 flat start.
5, that is great for Sammy. I know he's been working so hard on that start. That's been one of his Achilles heel, but to be right up there, be in that 5-second range, that's going to do him a lot of favors because I don't think anyone knows this track quite as well as the hometown hero.
Christopher Grotehair just went second quickest off a 5:01, so Sammy is right in the frame.
Not the best speed, though, just under that 90-kilometer-an-hour mark. We'll see if maybe it's a setup issue. We'll see what his speeds are down at the bottom of the track, though.
Clean exit out of Kreisel, like a miracle.
Beautiful.
Where is he like out of 9?
It does not get any better than that out of 9.
Speed's coming, 3rd best speed in the lower labyrinth.
Through the finish curve.
3rd at the line by 200s. No, 4th, 5th.
5th at the line.
There's Alex Auer, his coach, former teammate, 53.08.
Solid run, 5th place. You can tell he knew exactly where he wanted to put the sled, but the speed just wasn't quite there. You just wonder if maybe there was an equipment choice that was not set up for these weather conditions, but all in all, a very solid run. This is textbook right here.
Yeah, if you want a good video of how you come out of corner 9 down to 10, that's a good shot.
Great exit, dead straight. The runners don't go sideways at all. He's relaxed on the sled.
You saw Andy Schmidt in the background there, for many years the head of the British program, the Austrian, former world champion in his time as an athlete. So great to see him back with his home nation. Now then, our most recent winner, one of 4 first-time winners last week in La Plan. Jung Seung-hui of Korea, just 24 years of age. This is his 29th World Cup start. He's a quick getaway driver. He should have a great chance here as well.
Yes, indeed. 4.79. That is phenomenal. What a start by Seung-gi. He showed that he has these amazing start times. He set the record in La Plan last week. Probably doesn't have the weather to set it this week, but wow, he is blowing away the field at the start. Amazing.
He's only 700ths off the start record of Alexander Tretyakov, which dates back 7 years. So he's very close.
That is phenomenal. We'll see how he holds it up down this lower half of the track. Good, clean exit out of the Kreisel. Here comes this tricky curve 9. How does it go? Not bad at all. Small little wiggle, but still great speed. 101 kilometers an hour. Great job for Seung-gi, 120. I think he should still have enough to hold on to the lead. Let's see.
Yeah, speed going away, but it is enough by 1200s, 52.67. We talked about this in the Monobob race. Coming off your best ever career result just a week ago, you must come to a place like this with a fast start, just going, okay, I'm so ready for Innsbruck.
This is the place to have the fast start. It's a short track. It is not super technical. This really is the place where you can have a great start and then just hold on to that lead the way that Seung-gi did. We'll see. It puts him in the lead right now, and he's got a great shot at the podium for the second heat. Little bit squirrely, just trying to find his line as he enters into that lower labyrinth, but overall it's hard to critique when you've got the lead.
Yep. All right, well, we're still only 9 sleds into our 33 sled field, and next up is our world champion, Matt Weston. Claimed the gold medal in the World Champs in St. Moritz in February. He is a 2-time winner on this track. That 3-way gold medal share, and victory last year as well, or last season in February.
4.86, that is the second fastest start that we've seen, only behind Seung-gi. And Matt as well, he's proven it. He's not just a great starter though, he is a phenomenal driver as well. We'll see if he can track down Seung-gi, and it's already down to 700ths of a second.
25th World Cup start, so a real landmark day for Matt Weston.
And I know he's going to be looking for another podium finish today. Top speed, 90.6, solid exit, staying calm, and now he's in the green with the lead just by 200ths of a second. Little bit high at the end, gets a little skid, little nudge. Holding on though, top speed, he might have a new leader here.
It's going to be close, only the 4th best speed. 100th in it at the line, maybe. How close is he? 11. Wow, really held it together at the bottom.
Well, that's the kind of experience you would expect from the track record holder. He has got a great start. He knows how to drive. Small little things I know he's going to want to finish, but hey, in the lead in this World Cup race. Good job, Matt Weston.
Oh, he's got a proper Eagles haircut there for speed.
Here we go. It just gets a little bit high right on the end. You can see it just gives him a bit of a flop off of that exit. That right runner of his drops, and then that puts him into a little bit of a skid, and then he taps the wall, but he doesn't freak out. He just relaxes. Has a good
everyone. Hi, baby Eddie and Ian watching at home.
You're almost there, Matt.
Yeah, almost. Well, one more run to go before the Christmas New Year break. Matt Weston leads from Jung Seung-hui. Well, 10 down, 23 sleds still to go in the first heat of the Men's Skeleton World Cup. Chen Wenhao of China up next. Bronze medalist here last time out in February. So with very good memories of this track.
Yes, indeed. 4.94 to kick off his run, getting under that 5-second mark. Solid athlete here, and a great sense of humor as well. And this Chinese program, we've got to say, they've come a long way. An Olympic medal, they've got a field of a number of athletes who are podium threats. They've really done a lot with their program.
Well, claimed his first ever medal here in February, and then went out in Beijing and took the silver medal to start this season. So he's not had a bad few races.
Not at all. He had a very clean exit out of Kreisel there, and a great exit out of 9. That was really clean. Over 101 kilometers an hour. Solid run here. We'll see where it puts him at the end. 3rd fastest speed.
really coming back. Was 3600s back, so it'll be about 3/10 of the line. Didn't find much. There's the coach, Dirk Matchens. He was saying last week in La Plagne, his sliders knew very little at all about the track. It was all about survival, making sure they weren't injured before coming to Innsbruck, where they are much more up to speed. That's possibly not what he might have been hoping for.
No, you could bet he was hoping for a little bit more, but overall the run was really solid. This is coming out of that very tricky curve 9. Straight as an arrow into curve 10. Overall, a very solid slide, solid start. Maybe just a little bit of a equipment or a tech issue, but we'll see what he does. Maybe he can adjust for the second heat.
Well, he's currently 6th, but 1100s out of bronze. Now, we talked about Italians with injuries with Manuel Schwerzer. Here's another man who's basically had 2 careers. Early career, Mattia Gaspari, 2 or 3 seasons nearly off with aggravated injury of his Achilles. And this is the mature version of the man from Cortina d'Ampezzo. 46th World Cup race for Mattia. He first raced here in January 2012, so it's safe to say he knows which way this track goes.
Yes, indeed, he certainly does. And just what a great character, too. Loved by everyone on the tour. Really great guy who just, in spite of that injury, he's always got a smile on his face, and he's been coming back, and it's always a pleasure to see Mattia on tour.
Yeah, he doesn't have the speed at the start that he once had, but what he does have is knowledge and experience. And as you know, Nathan, you can't buy that. It's only earned by hard graft and lots of cold mornings.
Yes, indeed. Goes through that upper labyrinth, enters the Kreisel here. Speed a little bit down. He's under that 90-kilometer-an-hour mark. Has a good line, very clean exit out of Kreisel. Entry into the tricky curve 9 here. Straight as an arrow. It's a great run. Not quite the speed, but he is building well. We'll see where it leaves him. Oh, 3rd fastest speed.
10th at the start, 3rd fastest speed at the bottom, and he comes across the line in 9th place, ahead of teammate Manuel Schwerzer. So Willi Schneider there, who's coaching the Italians and building their sleds. And of course, they're all still waiting, like everybody else is, to find out exactly where the races will be held for the Milan Cortina Games in 2026. The only thing that we are aware of is that it will not be Cortina. Now, his sister, who skis for the Italian national squad, may well be competing in Cortina, their hometown.
I know everyone's waiting with eager anticipation to see where those races will be headed for the Milan Cortina Olympics. But right now, that was a great straightaway. Hey. Oh, as I said, always a character, always a great personality, great person to have here in the World Cup field.
For the first time ever, the first of 2 Ukrainian athletes in a World Cup field, Vladislav Heraskevich, 24 years of age, hardly the oldest slider in the field. This is his 49th World Cup start, though. He's a 2-time Winter Olympian. Beijing was his best World Cup result, equaling race. 6th place in Beijing at the start of the season. He had a 6th place in Sigulda a couple of seasons ago as well. 5:18.
5:18 to kick off his run. Oh, gets very close to that wall there. Vlad is not known for his starts, although he has improved tremendously over his career. He is known as a speed merchant. He holds his form really well. He's known for getting some great top speeds at the bottom. We'll see if he delivers that today. A little bit going in kind of early into the Kreisel. Not ideal, and the speed reflects that. But a clean exit, and we'll see if he can start clawing it back here.
The timing looked to whisker off. He had a big steer in turn 1 as well. You saw the elbow out.
Yeah, he used that body English. Up to 9th on the speed charts, at least. Now up to 5th. There we go, working his way up over that 120-kilometer-an-hour mark. So you can tell he knows how to drive a sled.
Yep. A big athlete like you use that mass.
53-57 crossing the finish line for Vlad. Not a bad slide at all. Just a little bit less settled than we usually see him.
I wonder how the skeleton athletes were training late yesterday. I wonder how different it feels today. And this is the thing, you know, as the weather conditions change, the ice condition changes, And in turn one, you've got to know what that means immediately. Otherwise, by turn three, you've lost any speed you might have had in the sled.
Yes, exactly. Usually when you get out of the spur, you know what it... Vlad wasn't too happy about that either. He knows he didn't quite make the adjustments that he needed.
Yinqing for China. Last time out here was a really good weekend for the Chinese in February. Chen Wenhao was third, Yin was fifth. He is our push world champion from last season.
Yes, Yin, known as the Chinese cheetah because of how fast he is at the start. Let's see what kind of a time he puts down today.
Little rub on the wall, 489.
489. And I believe he pushes a heavier sled than most other athletes. So that's when he has that lighter universal sled weight for the World Push Championships, he was able to show exactly how fast he is. But nonetheless, super respectable, really fast start, and making his way down the ice in a fairly clean manner.
Career best World Cup results, 5th place in Beijing a month ago and 5th place here in February. So this will be one of the tracks where he'll expect to produce a result. 2/10 back, 3rd fastest run at the moment.
There he goes, had a little bit of a skid, rubbed a bit of speed, 6th fastest there, and speed's coming down a little bit under. Can he hold on? Can he hold on?
Top 3, top 4. Oh, 8
down
at
to
the
8.
line, 52.97.
Just got away from him just a little bit there. You could see he had a big steer in Kreisel, and then out of 9 and 10, just not quite as settled as you need to be on the sled, and it was reflected in both the speed and the time there.
He's normally a fairly tidy slider, so when you see the legs moving around, that's an indication that he's not got the control that he was hoping for.
No, not quite what he was looking for. A little bit high there. Ooh. Oh, might have even gotten airborne there on the exit of 10.
He and the sled were barely on speaking terms at that stage.
Oh.
He has to wrestle his way back on.
He's on one runner there going into that lower labyrinth. Just a little bit out of control. Not quite what he wanted.
Yeah, one runner and one hit just connecting to the sled. Yang Wengang now for China. 18th place here in February for Yan, our Olympic bronze medalist in men's skeleton. If he has a bigger day in his career, I hope I'm still around to see it. Took bronze in the season opener in Yangqing as well, so he's got a good start to the year under his belt.
5:03 to kick it off, the third of the Chinese sliders here, this strong Chinese contingent that we have. And just under that 50-kilometer-an-hour mark, not the fastest of starters, not the best of velocities here, but yes, known as a great slider, holds his form well, very subtle on the sled. He does have the potential to claw it back in the bottom half of the track.
28th World Cup race, so he's got plenty of experience, and he's bringing the speed as well, up to 9th fastest in the Kreisel.
Good, clean exit. Both of the Chinese sliders, we saw him use that toe there. Well-executed curve 9. 8th on the speed now, 101.1. Not a bad-looking run. Little bit high on the end there of 11 into the lower labyrinth.
Yeah, losing the speed as a result. I was about to say he's going to chase down Yinqing. He does not chase down Yinqing. Yin in 8th and Yan in 10th. He's 3 tenths behind him.
Yeah, we see both of the past 2 Chinese sliders just have a little bit of a problem down there in the lower half of the track from curve 10 through that lower labyrinth. Something that they could adjust for in the second heat and improve upon. Here we see a replay of the start. Nice load onto the sled, getting that final powerful step. You see the athleticism there in a load onto a skeleton sled. Not the easiest of athletic feats to do.
2600s behind his teammate at the start, and they sort of multiply that by 2.5 factor, worked out almost exactly as he came down 7 tenths back. Matt Weston leads from Jung Seung-gui and Craig Thompson. 16th starter in our field of 33 men's skeleton athletes here in the 3rd race of the season, the BMW IBSF World Cup in Innsbruck, Austria. Martin Haven and Nathan Crumpton watching the action as Kim Ji-soo of Korea, 6th place finisher here in February, bids for another top run.
Another powerhouse starter for the Korean team. 4:87. What a fantastic start. 4th fastest in the field. the Korean program really built on the legacy of Sungbin Yoon, getting these great athletes and then teaching them how to drive. And of course, Jisoo has a great history here on this track.
36 World Cup start. He was 6th in the Winter Games in Pyeongchang. Again, a home Olympic Games. Not something an athlete from American Samoa is probably going to experience, but a Winter and Summer Olympian alongside me anyway. Nice exit. Oh,
A little bit of a skid there, scrubbing speed, 13th fastest speed. We'll see where it puts him in the bottom half of the track. 119.5, 13th fastest. Can he hold on to some of that?
10th at the line, off the 4th best start. Pursed lips from coach Jeff Payne.
It's one of the shifts that the Korean team has made, though, is that they've gone from the Bromley-made sleds in many of the years past onto the Schneider-made sleds, and some athletes adjust better than others. I don't know if Jisoo has gotten settled on the Schneider sled yet.
And again, all of that is, it has to be absolutely without thinking. It has to be instinct when you steer the sled. If you have to think about it, you haven't got time.
Yes, indeed. He still gives a wave, still a smile, but I know he'll be looking to improve on that in his second run.
Yeah, you don't want to start 4th and then finish 10th. Martin Stuckers with the sled now for the newest of our British quartet. Jacob Salisbury, the former swimmer, in his 3rd World Cup start. And he started sliding ice in November 2020. 5 Intercontinental Cup races on this track. He's had medals in 4 of them. So he does know how to get down, and he does know how to get away out of the blocks as well. 487.
That is a fantastic start. Really a testament to the great British program. They know how to develop these athletes. They're bringing so many great, talented athletes into the pipeline, teaching them how to drive. They got the great coaching staff. It's coming together really well for Team GB, and so we'll see how Jacob does on the rest of his run here. A little bit early into the Kreisel there. He reflected into the speed. 11th best speed, staying off the wall.
I wonder if we're starting to see the track go away a little. The last 2 sliders, 4th fastest, the speed not representing the start.
It's certainly possible with humid, snowy weather. There is a lot of variability there, but overall a fairly nice run. Very clean, and 10th, hey.
Yeah, 500s ahead of Kim Jisoo off the same start. So with 2 sleds, 4th fastest down to 10th place. It may be that they both were expecting slightly harder ice, went for a smaller contact patch, which digs in a bit more in softer conditions, but
certainly possible. Here we see the shot coming out of 9 on the straightaway. Just a little bit of a pendulum swing from the toe. Try and keep it off that wall. He does a nice job. Keeps it clean. Well done, Mr. Salisbury.
So 3rd World Cup race for Jacob Salisbury. 28th for Felix Kaisinger now. Another mercurial slider. Electrifying start. He has up and down runs. There's usually one good one in Kaisi. On the days where there are 2, he's on the podium.
Yes, indeed. I chatted with Kaisi before the race. He was saying that he did not have a great training session. He was not super happy with how the past several days have went, but he's still confident he can put it all together today, and let's see what he does.
The leg turner on this kid is absolutely insane.
488, really powerful starter here. Arguably the fastest starter in the German program right now, if not for the past several years. The question is, can he hold it on down the track? I know he's been disappointed the past few seasons, but he's saying this is his comeback year, this is his comeback season. He's trying to put it all together.
6th best starter, 4th on the splits at the moment, 4th best speed. Okay, so he is finding speed in the track that the last 2 have not.
And it's a good-looking run. His form is tidy. He's hitting his lines. Great exit out of the tricky curve 9, 101 kilometers an hour, 5th fastest speed. It's a solid run here.
It's a top 4 run for Felix Kaisinger. He is having a 2nd heat run in his 1st heat.
2nd fastest speed as well.
3rd fastest run, 52.78. Now, normally what happens is it all goes to hell in a handcart in the 1st heat, and then when there's nothing at risk, he produces a blinding 2nd heat because the pressure's off. Now,
Surprise.
now, having produced a good one, don't tighten up, Kaisi. Just go like there's nothing at stake in the second heat.
He is hunting for the podium, and it all starts right here. This phenomenal start that he has, under 490. Beautiful load, tremendous turnover. He's got a lot of power in those legs, and he just maintained that speed and drove really well. Importantly, he had both parts of the equation, the great push and a great drive.
Well, 900s behind Jung Sung-gui, the fastest starter at the top. Only 1100s back at the bottom. Matt Weston still our leader as we reach the pivot point in the field, just about. We get to Rasmus Johansson, 19th of our 33 starters. Just 21 years of age, only his 4th World Cup race, the Dane, where they don't speak Norwegian, apparently, he reminded me last week. 4th in the Intercontinental Cup a couple of seasons ago.
And gets off the blocks, 5:13 start. You could see his sled was being held by a German coach. He has a partnership with the German team. Germans being very helpful, helping out some of the smaller nations here. And we'll see what he can do down the track, yeah.
And he also speaks fluent German, which
That
definitely
helps.
doesn't hurt.
It certainly helps, yes indeed.
So 16th at the start, already out driving that, up to 15th on the splits early on.
Spots his entry into the Kreisel. Just under that 90km/h mark, uses a big toe and almost comes out too soon. Setting up for tricky curve 9 here. Controls the height at the end very well. Solid, right at 100km/h. Not a bad run at all.
Nice looking stuff from Rasmus Johansson, competing here in Europe Cup and in the that one, the ICC, and across the line in 17th place off the 16th best start. So he is battling with Manuel Schwerzer, Vladislav Polivac, and Chang Chung-hyung of Chinese Taipei. So like last week, he corrected me live on air as I was rambling on about Norway and Denmark and getting my countries completely mixed up.
You're in the right part of the world, at least. And when you have as varied places as Chinese Taipei to American Samoa, easy to get confused. There was that was that little bit of a rough exit. Not quite in control. He used a really hard toe and almost came out too early, but he avoided disaster.
So next up, the colours of Germany once more. This is Felix Seibel, only 3rd World Cup start for Felix, the Intercontinental Cup champion 3 seasons ago and the runner-up in the last 2 years. So he's got plenty of experience, winning here in February 2021, his championship winning year.
He is a great driver. Newer to the World Cup scene, but as you mentioned, he has a lot of experience on the Intercontinental Cup, and this is where he's been putting in a lot of work at his start. 5:12, so not the fastest in the field, but he gains tremendous speed down this track. He is a great slider. I've lost a number of races to him on this track. He brings speed, and he finds it in places where you couldn't even imagine.
Well, he also has a not for November mustache going on, which I'm greatly in awe of. 3rd best speed into the Kreisel off the 16th fastest start.
He's got something magic in his sled. He has a way of just finding speed. He's so relaxed. He picks his lines. Small little correction there on the straight, but hey, look at that. Fastest speed, 102km/h. 2nd fastest speed on the high end of the track, 121. Let's see where he ends up.
Give him another 300 metres and that would have been a top 6 run, 53.06. So 10th at the line off the 16th best start. There's somebody who can drive a sled.
Absolutely. He really shows his talent there for driving a skeleton sled, jumping up 6 spots from his starting position. If he could just take a couple tenths off of that start of his, he would be hunting for a medal.
Looks like D'Artagnan out of the 3 Musketeers, and he certainly wields a sled nicely. Look at that, barely a slight slide there, but hardly anything coming out of 9.
You're nitpicking it there. Yes, just a little pendulum swing from his foot. And looks fairly satisfied with that. We'll see what he brings in the second heat here, but great slide by Felix.
Matt Weston leads from Jung Sung-gui and Felix Kaisinger. Hello to viewers in Bath. Jackie Narracott and potentially Dr. Don Parsons might be watching as well. Morning, Jax. She's liking the Christmas decorations that Ilko, our Finnish cameraman, has put in. Let's see if she likes what Axel Jung can bring, our Olympic silver medalist. Best here, a bronze medal as far ago as Jan 2019. Just before he had his injury.
Yes, indeed. 5 flat for Axel. Not the fastest of starts. We're used to seeing him more competitive at the start, but he does have loads of experience. He is a great slider, and as you mentioned, the defending silver medalist from the Olympic Games, trying to get back to that medal winning form.
Second most experienced slider in the field. 70th World Cup race for teammate Christopher Groh here. 66th for Axel.
Real veteran of the field, showing you how it's done. He's having some great lines here. He's staying relaxed. Little bit of a correction there, but second fastest speed in the field, 101.9, and then second fastest at the bottom, 121. How high is he going to climb? 11th
at the start. He'll be 5th at the line. 6th at the line by 300s. Axel Jung. 200s, I beg your pardon, behind Christopher Groth here. So that's how closely packed the German sliders are.
Really solid run there, neck and neck with his teammate Chris. 5th and 6th for the Germans right now, as well as 3rd, of course, for Kaisi. Not a bad run at all for Axel. He's so relaxed. He really shows his experience. Nice, calm entry. Great, perfect height there in 9. Doesn't get too high on the end. You can see him just steering it down. Little bit sideways, but he corrects it so well. He doesn't freak out on the sled. Solid job, Axel.
Like you, a tall athlete, and that means that those long levers, you don't have to move them so much to have that desired effect. So Florian Auer at the line, Alex Auer, the coach and older brother with the sled for Austria. Their father, Christian Auer, one of the leading lights in the early days of developing skeleton. The race director for the World Championships here as well a few years back.
Big right foot coming out. As we've seen with a few athletes, a couple of problems with the spur, just not sending them into corner 1 as straight as they would like.
5:18 getaway for Flo, 19th fastest speed off the 19th best start.
But again, another hometown hero. This is his home track here in Eagles in Austria. So if anyone knows the secret speed corners, knows how to build that speed, it would be an Austrian.
Sami Meyer, the only Austrian to come down so far, in 12th place. Still 19th on the splits for Florian Auer.
Beautiful corner 9 into 10. It was a great straightaway, great clean exit. Speed's not quite there for Flo, though.
That speed isn't great. And that may be a setup deal because he definitely knows his way around this track. 53.69. And you wonder whether, when you've got so much local knowledge and you know what the weather does, whether he's gambled on it going a bit further than it has actually changed.
Entirely possible. Only Flo knows. We'll see as replay loading onto the sled. Nice, smooth start. Just a little bit behind the pace there, 5:18. And then there you see that right toe come out, try to counterbalance and get that correct line into curve 1.
Andy Schmidt again helping down the bottom. The other deal, of course, is because it's such a long heat, he set his sled over an hour ago for what were then the conditions and how he hoped it would go. And he didn't seem to go the way he wanted. Next up, his younger teammate, Alexander Schlindner, just 25 years old, started in 2013, where Florian Auer, I gather, was on the sled at the age of 2, slid by his dad. So Alex coming a little later to the sport from handball. Qualified for the Youth Olympic Games here and raced in Intercontinental Cup and Europe Cup here, as well as pre and post season. So again, the Austrians with lots of knowledge of the ice.
Yes, indeed. And 5:02, entirely respectable start here by Alex. And he's shown on the Intercontinental Cup tours and Europa Cup tours that he does know how to get down this track. He has a ton of runs here. He does have the potential. We'll see how much he can bring it back here. A little bit early into Kreisel, and so the speed is not quite there. 13th fastest speed. Clean exit, though. Ooh, it's up and down for Alex here. Let's see how it goes in the bottom half of the track.
Tiniest of rubs. Speed is falling away, though. 15th on the splits. It looked like he might be getting quite close to Sami Meyer at the start of the run. He's dropping away. 16th at the line, 53.35.
So maybe it is an equipment issue, as you mentioned, Martin. The slide was solid, maybe not as relaxed as he could have been, but overall a decent run for one of the hometown athletes.
3,400s ahead of teammate Florian Auer, who's just come down.
Here's the shot coming out of curve 9. Overall, not bad at all. Flirting with the sliders right, and just gets a tiny rub, but not enough to take off significantly from his time. Relax, entering 10. Niche optimal, Alex, but
Yeah.
hey, you should get a second run here.
He's a big lad, isn't he? He is a big unit. Now then, for the USA, your former teammate Austin Florian, now 29 years of age. His 37th World Cup race. His last race here was his best in February, 13th place finish.
And boy, Mr. Florian has had a love-hate relationship with this track. He says it's finally coming around. He thinks he's got a feel for it. Great athlete. He's got a solid start here. Let's see what the time is. 4:87. Very competitive. Wow. That should get him off on the right foot at least.
Quite a steer in turn 1 there. Made it look like a right angle. 6th best velocity early on. And it's all about doing as little as humanly possible in these early corners until the sled builds a bit of speed and you've got a bit of grip in the corners.
And that is the trick, because he is a big, strong athlete. It's very easy for him to crank on the sled. But right now he's looking relaxed. He's looking calm and collected. Little bit of a rub, the exit there of, ooh, and a rub into 9 as well. Going out of 9, not bad, but oh, the velocity has just gone under 100 kilometers an hour. Oh, something's not quite right.
No, not at all. 4th fastest start. Will be lucky to be in the top 15 at the line. 53.19. Matt Antoine, another man whose names could go the other way round.
Yes,
Same as
indeed.
Austin Florian.
Yeah. Oh, Austin's not going to be happy with that, though. Just when he thought he was starting to get a feel for the track and coming to terms with it, it just got away from him there. Here we see that's the exit of Kreisel, just getting a little bit too close to the slider's left wall, but that's the time killer right there. It's the rub before going into that critical curve 9. Then he gets a bit of height in the middle, dips down, exit of 9, and just bled out.
1 more to go. Well, lots to tidy up there for Austin Florian. Next up for Spain, 3rd World Cup start for Adrian Rodriguez. Raced in the Worlds in St. Moritz, where we met him first. Has raced here in Europe Cup. Now in his 7th season on ice, and continues to have a full-time summer athletic career as well.
Yes, indeed, sprinting. And hey, this is where the sprinting should come into play. It's that first 50 meters. How does it come out for him? Mr. Rodriguez, 5:11 at the start.
And Mirabel back coaching. He was here last week with the younger Spanish athletes in the Youth Olympic Games qualifying races. So he's in his 2nd week here in Innsbruck.
Getting into this lower labyrinth. Ooh, a little bit of a rub on the wall. Sorry, the upper labyrinth here. Now setting himself up for the Kreisel. Little bit of an adjustment. Not quite the speed that he was hoping for. Just got to relax a little bit. Oh, takes a big hit on the exit as well.
Still see a lot of elbows all the time when Adrian is sliding.
Yes, you can tell he's not quite relaxed. He's got his elbows out. He's lifting his shoulders up. It hurts the aerodynamic form a little bit. He's just got to melt into that sled, and it's something that just takes some time.
54.19. So it comes down a 2nd slower than Austin Florian. And that leaves him down towards the tail of our field at the moment. Adrian in 23rd of 25 sliders. So the field is now full, and this is where you get to that tough part for the remaining sliders. You've got to make the cut, or you're one and done.
Exactly. Make it or go home. There we see one of the big hits on his left side, and you just see that shoulder coming up, losing that aerodynamic form, and that's just when the problems compound. Foot coming out, bit of a skid. Still smiling, though, and that's what we want to see. Yeah.
Well, he's got 2 sleds behind him going for him. So at the moment, 25 down and another 8 to go. Matt-Antoine with the sled for Dan Barefoot. Raced in the Intercontinental Cup last season, raced in the Worlds in Saint-Moritz. So like so many in the World Championships before he started a World Cup career, this is his 2nd World Cup start.
5:07, entirely respectable start here for Mr. Barefoot from Johnstown, Pennsylvania, wanting to give a shout out to his hometown here as he makes his way down the ice.
Well, I was saying last week with that eagle on the helmet, his sliding style as well as his helmet decoration reminds me of nobody so much as Katie Uhlaender, with a parallel legs rather than that sort of heels together that everybody else uses.
Exactly, just getting him on the sled, getting him comfortable. That's part of the process, being a skeleton athlete. Nice entry into 9 very early, and a great exit as well. Hey, this is a guy who's putting together a good run. Over 100 kilometers an hour for a rookie on the World Cup Tour. This is a solid run for Mr. Dan Barefoot.
17th place in La Plan, so he comfortably made the cut there. Let's see if he does the same again. 19th place, 53.50. So that pushes out Chun Hyung of Chinese Taipei and leaves Poland's Władysław Poliwak on the bubble.
Not a bad run at all for Dan, who also works remotely for an engineering and architecture firm. So a bright guy as well, not just one of the crazy skeleton athletes that we're kind of known for being.
Once upon a time, working remotely was a very weird thing, wasn't it? Now it's just absolutely standard for almost everybody.
It does, and it makes this possible. It makes it possible for him to head off to Europe and do what he loves doing, which is sliding down ice chutes.
Thanks for watching, guys. Merry Christmas.
There's a boy from Pennsylvania after what might well be enough to get him into the 2nd heat. Next up, for representing Ghana, Kwasi Frimpong. Started his life in Ghana, transitioned through the Netherlands where he competed there as a national sprinter, then to the USA, now lives in Salt Lake City with his wife and his 2 daughters. A 2018 Olympian, a 3-time world champion competitor, but made his World Cup debut in Beijing.
Yes, indeed, and a 5:10 start for Kwasi. Keeps him competitive, very comparable to a number of other athletes in the field here.
I said he made his World Cup debut, not strictly true, it was his skeleton debut. He actually once started a World Cup race in a Dutch 4-man with Ivo de Bruyne as a brakeman. You didn't know that, did you?
Quite the journeyman career then for a Kwasi Frimpong here.
Yeah, absolutely. And the hope of a billion has a little tap on the exit of the Kreisel.
Nice entry into 9, though. Controls that exit height well. Little bit of a skid. Velocity not quite there for a Kwasi, but he's keeping calm on the sled. Yep. Not a bad run.
Might be enough. He's in the race at the moment. Knows the North American tracks a lot better. 25th right on the bubble. 54.53 slide. So that means Władysław Poliwak is out of the race at the moment.
A Kwasi, always smiling, big personality at the track.
Hi, Rahul. Thanks for watching.
Here we're looking at the Kreisel. Gets a bit too much height at the end there. That's what causes him to come over and tap that slider's left side. Not disastrous, though. He handles it well. Just throws the feet out just a little bit to get the sled back on track and then into corner 8.
Eric Ashanti, love you so much. Black Eyes, baby, hope of a billion. Let's go.
All right, well, let's see if we get to watch a Kwasi in action for a 2nd time today. There are a few who might upset his apple cart, and the first of whom is Lucas Defaye of France, 26 years of age. Made his debut in Sigulda back in February 2021. Doesn't have a World Cup history on this track, but has raced it in the lower categories. 5:08 the getaway, but a little rub on the wall, so it's a dead heat almost with a Kwasi as he lays down.
Yes, indeed. One of those athletes that just had a bit of an issue with that spur, just not getting out of the groove as cleanly as you would like. But he's got it back on track. He's got a lot of experience. He's been around for a number of years here. We'll see what Luca can do down the track.
World Cup best 17th place in Altenburg in January.
Looks like he just overdrove the Kreisel there. He used his toe. He came out and was almost flirting with hitting that right wall. So probably doing a bit too much on the sled, I would say.
When you learn to race in La Plan, you used to drive a lot. That's why he bonded well with Altenberg. Here you got to drive almost not at all. 24th, and that means Kwasi Frimpong is out. Adrian Rodriguez now on the bubble. 53.81. Not safe yet for Lucas Defaye. Yeah, not overjoyed with his run, I don't think.
No, not quite, but we'll see if he gets a second one here. Gives us a little wave. Here's the Kreisel. So this is what I was talking about, where you have to just be really subtle. What he ends up doing is that on this second pressure, the second wave, he drops that left toe, and he steers really hard, and he comes out actually too soon, and now he's having to correct it in the straightaway so that he doesn't hit that slider's right wall.
And we're talking here hundreds of a second difference in where you steer, making those big differences. Vincent Buff next for Switzerland, our 29th starter of 33. He's the middle of three brothers. Jean-Jacques slid for Switzerland, now slides for Liechtenstein, and 16-year-old younger brother Valentino also sliding. Started as recently as January 2021. Was in the World Championships in St. Moritz in February.
And also representing the Swiss company with On Running on his shoes. And we've actually seen a number of athletes with the On Running spikes here.
Yeah.
Getting his way into curve 3 here, that sweeping left-hander, and then into the upper labyrinth of the track. 6,700ths behind the pace so far.
25th fastest start, 24th now on the split. So he is overhauling Spain's Adrian Rodriguez.
Just under that 90-kilometer-an-hour mark, but clean exit out of Kreisel. This is that tricky part. Clean entry into 9, and a good line out of it. Not a bad run at all.
Speed is coming up. 25th starter, 16th best speed.
119.5 through the bottom speed trap into the finish corner with
23rd place at the line, so 2 sleds behind him. That might just be enough to see Vincent Buff make the cut here. And that means now that Adrian Rodriguez is out, Lucas Defaye of France, and Florian Auer of Austria. 25th and 24th, they're in the danger zone.
This is that shot coming out of 9, and well done. Those runners, that's one thing to look for. Make sure those runners are straight, that they're not skidding, and that's about as straight as it gets.
Manuel Schwerzer of Italy is safe. He's 21st with 4 to go. He cannot be bumped out. Rasmus Johansson, Vincent Buff, Florian Auer, Lucas Defaye now have to watch with increasing trepidation the remaining 4. Second World Cup race for 21-year-old Swiss Livio Sumomata, our junior European champion from last year, Youth Olympic bronze medalist Lausanne 2020, St. Moritz to you and I. Made his World Cup debut last week, finished 26th.
495, solid start here for the Swiss slider. Again, representing the Swiss On brand. Oh, takes a little bit of a tap on that slider's left side. And
great speed though, 11th fastest start, 10th best velocity.
We'll see if it's affected as he comes into the Kreisel here. We'll get another speed check. Spotting his entry, going in a little bit early though, down to 13th fastest speed though, but overall, he's still keeping it competitive.
Out of the Kreisel, he is in the race.
Decent exit out of 9, going in a bit late into 10. Speed drifting away just a bit, takes another hit, but I think it should be enough. We're gonna find out here.
Yep, down through the lower labyrinth. If he can hang on to the sled, he'll be in the race. 19th best run, he is in, and happily in. So that big starting explosion that he's got, you know, he's almost a top 10 starter, 21 years of age. He's only going to get faster and stronger physically.
And a big smile as well. This is the shot exiting 9. Just drifts a little bit late. That's what causes the problem exiting corner 10, but no skid, no hit. Not a bad run at all, and he builds off of that great start. There's a lot of potential here.
Well, Lucas Defaye of France was in the run for 4 minutes and is now out. So 25th place, Florian Auer on the bubble with 30 down and 3 to go. Second ever World Cup race for Canada's Kyle Donsberger made his debut in Lake Placid in December 2022. Coach Joe Cicchini behind was telling me last week that this is the season they're going to cycle guys through the team, see who's where, get everybody a bit of experience and try and choose tracks that suit them as much as possible.
And it is a different experience. When you're on the World Cup, you have the TV cameras, you've got the pressure, there's fans watching. It is a different experience from what you experience on the lower circuits. So we'll see how we adjust to it here.
Well, the deal here is quite a tough one. This is Kyle's first ever race outside of North America. He was the runner-up in North America's Cup last year, but has never been to Europe racing.
And holding it together, really trying to adjust those lines. You see the toes coming out, the speed not quite there in the sled, and ooh, takes one of the biggest hits we've seen out of Kreisel. Just needed to drive that a little bit more. Exit of 9, also taking a hit, double hit before into 10. That's gonna hurt the velocity.
You see on the right-hand side of his time there, the clicker that shows where he is on the splits, just rotating rapidly with each of those hits. And across the line, 28th place, 54.34.
And that just goes to show that it is not easy to take a run on a skeleton sled, and especially if you don't have that much experience on the track or even on the continent, it's a whole new ball game.
Yep.
But a big smile.
Well, 6 training runs, and unfortunately for Kyle Donsberger, only 1 race run here in Innsbruck.
This is the shot of the Kreisel, where he had some issues. So we have these waves, these oscillations through the corner. This is the bigger oscillation right on the end, just gets too high and boom, takes the shot on the left.
Yeah, he'll know all about those, won't he?
He'll be feeling that one tomorrow morning.
There'll be an Epsom salts bath in his future. 2 to go then. And 2 debutants from Canada, 29-year-old Troy Wilson. Started sliding at Lake Placid in November 2019. 2 podiums in Whistler in NAC racing just a fortnight ago. Makes his World Cup debut here in a very different track. 5:12 getaway.
Not a bad getaway, certainly in these conditions. Staying nice and relaxed too. Takes that rub coming out too early out of corner 2 and hits that left wall.
24th at the start. That's enough to give him a chance.
Up to 16th then on the splits, back down to 18th. We're seeing a little bit of a roller coaster ride. Drifting early into Kreisel, speed not quite there. Uses a big toe and still takes a big hit with a skid. Ooh, dropping. You can see it all the way back down to 25th. That Kreisel really killed the time and speed.
Yeah, didn't hold the line through the Kreisel. Big height there as well. Loops up.
Oh, skid city here. Got to keep the sled under control. 111 speed. I don't think we're going to see him in the second heat here.
Seems unlikely. 31st of the line, 55.29.
But for the experience, great to have a World Cup race under your belt and get another one for next time.
So Eric Nielsen up there at the top of the track helping out with the coaching as well.
Yep, first one indeed.
Well, look, yeah, first ever World Cup race. May not be the result, but you've got to break your duck somewhere.
You do, and it is all about the experience. There's the big hit coming out of the Kreisel. It's the hit and the skid. You get a double whammy. That skid right there, just the sled drifting off to the left. It is not as easy as some people make it look, and a hat tip for holding onto the sled and getting down the track.
Best would have had all week.
and that is the takeaway.
That is the spirit, yes.
If you were feeling old when you got up this morning, I'm going to make you feel much older. Our final slider, Yaroslav Lavrenyuk of Ukraine, making his debut, was born on the 1st of November 2007. Nathan Crumpton and I have T-shirts much older than this young man. Started sliding a week after his 14th birthday in November 2021. He was here last week with 2 podiums in the Youth Olympic qualifiers, and now he makes his World Cup debut.
And I've got to say, how great is it to see another athlete from Ukraine competing in the field here? We've had Vladislav Haraskevich for so many years, but for him to carry on that legacy and to have a second Ukrainian athlete in a World Cup field after all the country has been through, what a phenomenal sight.
And he's still coming through, exactly right. And a nice exit there out of the Chrysler as well.
Indeed, it seems as if he's inherited more than just the country name from Vlad. He has got some great form on a sled.
Well, he doesn't have a big start, but again, very much developing. But still only 17 years, 16 years of age.
A little bit wild at the bottom, but he is holding his composure really well.
Excellent form, 55.19. Well, there's Mikhail Heskerovich, who is the glue that holds the Ukrainian team together. They've had Ukrainian bobsledders, they've had Ukrainian female skeleton sliders, but it's been Vladislav who has kept it all together, and now he has a 16-year-old teammate. Again, we talk about physical development. This kid is going to continue to grow in strength and in experience. Little step onto the sled. I'm sure he was very nervy.
And he avoided disaster as well. And when you step on your sled, most people end up tripping. So hat tip to him as well for not falling on his face and completing the run.
33 sleds down, the fastest 25 go through, and the final one will be our first heat leader, Matt Weston, looking for a third career win on this track.
Great run by Matt, really putting it down, but I know he's always hard on himself. He's looking to improve on that second heat.
Yeah. Well, there were a couple of errors that I saw creep in, and what do I know? So Matt Weston will have plenty to think about. Some gaps at the top, 1100s ahead of Jung Sung Gui, last week's winner. Felix Kaisinger in the medals by 100 from Craig Thompson, 500s ahead of Hiskerot here, 700s ahead of Axel Jung, 900s, 1000s ahead of Amadeo Banias, 1100s ahead of Chen Wenhao. I think bronze is up for grabs.
Bronze is indeed up for grabs. This is something that Eagles Track is known for. It's that really tight racing, a product of being such a short, tight track.
And so many close battles, 100th here, 200s there between some of these athletes. Lots and lots. Everybody will be looking at the results sheet and going, oh, I can pick off a couple here if I just tidy this, that, or the other up. 25th Florian Hour hangs on in the field. Watching the second heat will be Lucas Defaye, Adrian Rodriguez, and the rest of them outside the top 25. So Karl Donsberger, Kwasi Frimpong, Vladislav Polivac, Yaroslav Lavrenyuk, Troy Wilson, and Chung Chun Hung. So congratulations to our debutantes who have made their World Cup start. And there's the man they will all be chasing in the second heat. You can join us for that action. It will be starting at 13:20 local, 12:20 GMT, and that's a positively morning-like 07:20 Eastern. Until then, on behalf of Nathan Crumpton and the IBSF TV crew here in Innsbruck, Martin Hagen saying thank you for joining us. We'll see you in a little over 40 minutes. Bye for now.
Hi, baby. I didn't watch it at home.